36% of Servier Pharma's employees use the conversational AI assistant every single day. That means over 10,000 conversations are happening each and every single day inside of the company. That means Gelu, the chatbot as it's named, has a voice in Servier Pharma's company. It's a 4.2 billion a year company with 22,000 employees, and this has been made possible by one of the most innovative and cost-effective IT teams that I've come across in 10 years. Welcome, Laurentiu. How are you today, sir?
Welcome. Fine, I'm very well. I'm glad to be here. Thank you for the invitation. And I hope we'll have a nice conversation. And I'm pretty sure that it'll be nice because we have a lot of good topics these days, AI being one of them.
Well, let's share those topics with everyone. Let's jump straight in then. Let's start at the very beginning. So for those people who don't know Servier Pharma and what makes it a big name in the pharma industry, could you tell us a little bit more about the company?
Sure. Servier, it's not really a big group. We are big, but not as the biggest one. Servier is an independent French pharmaceutical group, and it was founded in 1954. And what is important to highlight is the fact that the company has a passion for innovation, and we like that. It's our part of our DNA, and we want to improve the patient life, of course. We are present in, I think, 154 countries. And what other thing which is important to highlight is the fact that our governance model is what makes us different and also what makes us strong as being governed by a foundation. We don't have other way. We are not paying, to different shareholders and so on. So because of that, we can, of course, in a sustainable way, to sustain our innovation and to improve the patient lives. That's basically who we are, and we are proud of this. I am proud to be part of this company because of that, because we are working for patient, for real. We are not paying. We are not working for shareholders.
Oh, I wonder if that changes how the company operates. But you're being very humble, and that's how I got to know you, by the way, as part of our interviews when we were preparing. But there's something about Servier Pharma that maybe people don't know, and that's the IT team. And this is the bit that I want to dig in. Laurentiu, you said when we were preparing for the interview, and this was quite different for me, the role of IT is to seamlessly build apps for the business and the people inside it that they don't know that they need, but they will never give up. Is that what inspired you to implement a conversational AI megabot? And what's it doing, and what needs does it respond to for all these wonderful people inside of the company?
I think the role of IT in general should be around the people, because you are not there to serve a technology. You are there to serve people. And that's the power of, that's the power of the technology. You can make their life much more easier, because this is what about technology. The efficiency that technology that doesn't bring to the sake of technology, brings for people. So if we're talking about the people, then each tool that you want to implement, you have to implement having in mind first the people and then the technology. Megabot, why megabot? Because if you are thinking about people, you have to have something who can answer to all the questions that you may have from one place, one mega AI, mega whatever you call it, megabot. Imagine that you have One person in the company who can answer to all the questions that you may have, no matter what is the topic. I think that's the real benefit for people, not for technology.
I love that. That was the bit that attracted my ear when we were talking, because normally companies just, they implement a HR chatbot, they implement a finance chatbot, they implement an operations chatbot, which then recreates the silos of an organization in every sense, in the people sense, the structural sense, the technology sense. So I love this concept and this idea that you have the most knowledgeable person thing inside of the organization that knows everything. That must not only please people, because then they can get an answer without moving from department to department, but there must be something in that, Laurentiu, that says, if I can incorporate all of the institutional knowledge inside of the organization, then it doesn't matter when people come or go or leave or move, it's available at people's fingertips.
Mm-hmm.
Is that how it operates in the real world?
Yeah, I think yes. And also I'm thinking now, we have heard about the collaboration word many times. We have to collaborate better between departments, between different actors in a company. Now we have the chance to do that, because you have the technology who can do that. It's in a way stupid to maintain the same silos when you can do it simpler with one way. So you can achieve what you are talking about for years, very simple. That's why I'm saying that it's I think it's a very good chance to achieve what everybody wants for years.
Yeah, well, that for me
Real
was the
collaboration.
interesting bit. But that was the interesting bit, Laurentiu, because people have talked about this for years. And for a moment during COVID, everybody in the organization worked together. But I get the impression they're now going back to their old ways of working. But you've deliberately rethought how IT should actually function. And not only that, if I ask you the next question here at the same time, you've rethought how IT functions, but this is at a time when budgets are not rising. Budgets are actually shrinking. Incomes are falling down. Costs are rising up. So how did you meet the challenge of actually implementing conversational AI and all of the technology changes that you've been able to do on the same budget that you had more than 10 years ago?
I think, yeah, I don't know how to make it to be clear, but imagine that you have, let's say, the same amount of money for many years, but you are not doing the same thing every year. So if you are planning your budget to have every year some money for innovation, you will have it. It's easy. You are innovating now, you finish that innovation, or and next year you use the same amount of money for the next innovation that appear. So you don't have to invest more and more just to have an innovation. It's I don't know how to explain it very well, but I think it's not about the money. It's about the will to find a way to use what is new and what is useful for your employees. In the case you have project for employees.
See that?
What I mean, you can keep the budget fixed. Just you have to plan it better, what you are doing for them.
I love the way you say that so simply. And this was the beautiful bit about preparing for the interview. It's the most natural thing for you to say. But I see year after year, IT departments demanding more and more and more budget to innovate. And they deliberately don't innovate if they're not given cash, because then they get to say to the leadership team, well, you haven't given me money, therefore I can't do these things, but you've been able to do it without seeing rises in your innovation budget or your tech budget. That's the bit that's extraordinary. I love the way it's so simple for you.
I think it should be simple. You have a salary, it's the same salary. Doesn't mean that you are not innovating in your house because you don't have more money to do it. It's the same thing, in fact.
I love that. I love that so much. We need you in so many more IT departments. CFOs must love you.
Yeah, probably. I hope so.
Well, here, let me ask you a question then. How do you convince people in Servier Pharma to use conversational AI assistants?
There is a perseverance and some tricks to do that. So from my experience with employees, with internal clients, make me think that sometimes, many of the time, you should first implement it, let it in the field, they will start to play it, then they will understand the benefits. Of course, I say it in a simple way, but you cannot throw any kind of projects in the organization just to see if everybody wants it. It is very important to know the business. If you understand each part of the business, you will have an idea what can work and what cannot work. So that's why I said many times that an IT department, it is a good department if it is 100% in the business involved, because in that way they can understand well the business. I was afraid to say very good, because you cannot understand very good everything, but at least you will understand well what are the needs, and then I'm pretty sure that you will find the right tool that you can put it before they want it, because that's another philosophy that we have here inside. Our goal is to bring to the people, let's call it tools that they don't know they need before they ask it. Because if they are coming to you and ask for a tool, you are too late. You are not a consultant, a technology consultant anymore. You are just a supporting department. And I hate that tag that IT department says. It's a support department. It's not.
Oh, I love that.
If you are looking in the world now, everything has something digital behind. Everything.
See, there's a couple of nuggets in there that I don't want people to miss. And this is a bit that I just adore, Laurentiu, having talked to you, because you're saying this is the most natural thing in the world, but I come across IT departments every single day who are classic IT departments. They're order takers, and then they wonder why the business treat them like order takers. And I seen a survey recently that says, is IT an enabler or not? And over 67% of people said IT is not a partner. But you have put people in your team who spend deliberate amounts of time to actually understand the business. You put technology in place before the business even knows that it needs it, that serves a purpose that they didn't even think they had, in a way that delights them. And then they wouldn't take the technology back out. And you're doing all this using the same budget that you had 10 years ago. Those things are very unusual.
Probably. But what I'm trying to say is that it's in our hands. I'm talking about the IT, because I heard this annoying voice that IT is not enabler, IT doesn't do that. It is in your hand to do it. If you want, of course. You have to be part of the business. The business, it sounds like a separation, but in general, this is the reality. The business will not take you on the table and say, now you are part of the business. No, it's not like that. You have to be there. And to be there, you have to learn the language. You have to understand their needs, understand their needs, not the technology needs. In the first place, you have to understand the real business needs, and then the technology will come.
Wow.
But it's it is in our hand to do it. Of course, it's easier to stay in the server room because you don't have to deal with different personalities, with different. You don't have to communicate because the servers are very simple to communicate with them. But if you want that, don't complain.
Oh, I see so many teams complaining. They need to copy what you're doing here. Well, look, you've put in the technology. You've convinced people to use it without them realizing they even needed this. But what are the benefits your business teams have noticed since putting in conversational AI to your customer-facing side of things and your internal organization? And how do you measure the benefits of your conversational assistant?
It's very simple. If we talk about only one single thing, you need a holiday. Yeah. So we have our digital, we have a platform where you can request a holiday, but to request a holiday for that platform, you have to open your laptop, go to website, enter your password, fill in the data, and so on. It will take time. What conversational AI brings technology closer to the user, because all you have to do to ask for a holiday, it is just to open the Teams, because you have it on the phone, and say it in a natural language. I want a holiday. When? Tomorrow. And the conversational AI will do it for you. And that's it. It is, we saved time for employee and for the approval, because the approval will sign the holiday through conversational AI in the same way. You have a holiday request. Do you sign it? Yes. And that's it. It's natural. It's like you are using a phone. Oh, that's the benefits. Of course, if you are in the figures and you want data to see how much money you are saving, it's not all about money. And of course, we can prove that time means money. We can talk about that if want, but I think it's more important to keep in the middle the people, the employees. And if you give them the technology closer. Now, if you make the technology invisible for them, it is a big win, because this is what happens. They will not see the technology as something that they have learned to learn, to remember what is the button. You have to make the technology works for them. And conversational AI, it's a very good example, because it works on their language, on their way of working, the speaking.
Do you know what? There's a couple of lovely things about what you're saying, Laurentiu. I was talking to Nevenka Doka recently. She was on one of the podcast talks. And you and her, by the way, you mentioned people at the core of everything that you're doing. And you mentioned as well, there's subtlety in what you're saying that I don't want the audience to miss. And the words that I heard there were talking in the language of the people and allowing conversational AI to do that in the most natural way possible. Because again, I see too many companies putting in this application and that application and this application to do this small thing. And that results in everyone having to have multiple passwords, having to remember how all these application works, which always results in service desk calls or frustration or bad data or something else. But your megabot now, in verbal language, in words that people actually use, can help in finance and HR and operations and everywhere else. And as you said yourself, it's now become invisible to your people. That surely is the right way to put in technology.
Yeah. And I think we are in the right moment in time to build that, because nowadays with conversational AI and the new language models, we can really bring the technology closer to them, and we can really make the technology invisible for them. I think it's a great period for all the ITs in the world, because finally we can deliver something that can really change the life.
Oh, wow. I wonder if IT departments want to become invisible. That's the interesting bit. What would your advice be?
Just a moment. We want to be invisible since forever, because we don't want to be part of the business. That's why we're talking about the that collaboration stuff, enabler, and so on. But it's come on, you cannot say that you don't want to be invisible, but you are already invisible. You want to be part of business, but you don't be one part of the business. Come on, you have to decide.
1 foot in and 1 foot out, I think. Well,
Yeah.
Laurentiu, what advice would you give to organizations thinking of investing in conversational AI?
They have to try to start playing with the conversational AI as soon as possible, because it's really a game changer for clients in general. I think you just have to start playing with it, and then you will see the benefits. It's not easy to do, because you have to find the right processes that you can use. But once you start to build the conversational AI, you will find very fast the best use cases that can improve the employees or clients' life.
Where have you put it in? If you mentioning use cases, what examples have worked really, really well for Servier?
Everything that it's easy to automate. For example, holiday requests, expense notes. We have everything. I don't know. I think I can put it in a general way, something like that. Everything that is a request works very well with conversational AI. And now, because we have GPT and language models, new AI language models, you can put the entire Q&A in your conversational AI. That's another thing that I saw in time in a company. It's very difficult to find the right information or the right people to help you with something. And if you are able to build a bot that can give you exactly what you need, you will save a lot of time. Otherwise, you are moving from one person to another, from one department to another department, to find what you are trying to find. That's why now, with this combination, GPT and conversational AI, I think finally we can solve that.
Well, have you used ChatGPT integrations with your conversational assistant? And if you are, what are you seeing and what are your expectations going forward?
We are playing with it. We are working these days, in fact, with the integration with ChatGPT, the Microsoft Azure OpenAI. I don't know what is the name of the service. And we're trying to achieve exactly what I'm saying. We're trying to have the entire knowledge about internal procedures, and then we'll build on that. We want to put there also competencies that we have in different departments. So in a way that we hope to solve any possible questions regarding how our company operates. So if somebody wants to find an information, theoretically, the conversation I should be able to answer to it. But we are far from there, because it's not easy. It's not something that you can, switch it on and it will work. But at least we are very optimistic that everything will go in a right direction. Hope that the UE will not block anything. So we have to be. Anyway, it's a long discussion with AI. It's too early to say that if it's safe or not, if it's good or not. There are many discussions around that.
Yeah, it's interesting just following on from your conversation there a moment ago, because AI just doesn't work. You don't just plug it in and everything works immediately, but nor do people. You can't put a person into an organization and expect them to know everything day one without training them or showing them or guiding them about what is right or wrong. I do wonder sometimes if we have too much expectation of technology and too little expectation of people.
Exactly, that's the essence of the technology. Since I'm working in IT, everybody expects that the technology should work perfectly from the beginning, which is far from, it's impossible to do it. And if we are going back to the conversational AI, it is exactly what you are saying. You have to invest time and knowledge and know-how in order to make it better, let's say. So of course you have to be, it is exactly like you are with a new employee. You have to teach him a lot of stuff. And it's not, of course, it will be easy if you are teaching only parts of the processes. It will become much more difficult if you want to make it a megabot. I don't know what's the better word in a mega employee. Let's put it like that, because now I'm thinking, I think it's impossible to replicate in a human what you can possibly do with a conversation AI. Imagine that if you are putting the competition a megabot and an employee with the same task, you want to give to an employee an objective to know everything about the company, everything. I'm pretty sure that you will not be able to do it. Instead, with a conversation AI, maybe you can do it. There is some hope there. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's what comes in my mind right now.
I don't think there's enough hours in the day for a mega person to actually exist. But that's the beautiful thing about a mega bot. You teach it everything once and it's one bot.
Yeah.
And then it knows it forever. Whereas if you have to train 400 staff and then there's a new 400 staff and a new 400 staff, the amount of learning that has to happen and the amount of checking and the amount of updating is phenomenal. But maybe, let's see, we should do that competition. Where do you see, Laurentiu, the future of generative AI in the pharma industry? Are there particular use cases, or what do you think is possible going forward in the future?
Oh, if you are looking in the what other see in the generative AI, there are a lot of applications in the new molecule discovery. You can discover faster in order to discover a molecule now takes almost 10 years or more. So if you can reduce, and they say that they can reduce it to months, it will be a big impact. And not only on that, I think you can use it in all areas, more and less, depends on the area. But I don't see any field that cannot be touched by the conversation AI.
Wow, that's a rather big statement, because that's a lot of impact on a lot of roles.
Yeah, I know everybody talks now about the job, losing the jobs and so on. But I think it will not happen.
No.
If you are looking behind 100 years ago with the Industrial Revolution, in fact, we didn't lose jobs. We gained jobs. And I don't know how. I'm pretty sure that it will happen in the same way. I'm pretty sure that we will win jobs. what it's important to highlight is that I'm not talking people here. I'm talking about jobs. And why I'm saying that is because some people can lose jobs because they cannot keep the pace with the technology. I think it's very important to remain flexible and curious, to learn and to adapt to the new technology. Otherwise, of course, you will lose.
But again, as I'm an advocate like yourself of technology creating jobs, because 100 years ago, when technology put, horses out of work, then you ended up with metal manufacturers, mechanics, it was a whole new era of innovation. People were able to move across great distances and create new value. And that's a bit I'm excited about generative AI. It's the alteration, and yes, some roles will change, but it's the alteration of the makeup of roles. So if I can get a megabot to answer every mundane question, if I can get it to anticipate what I want on a daily basis, sort my calendar, organize my presentations, free my mind up to be my most creative, value-adding best self, then I'm looking forward to everything that generative AI can bring, because it is going to transform how we do things. I want that digital assistant today. No, give it to me and I'll start teaching it, because that's going to drive tremendous amounts of value.
Yeah, I think that's the direction we will have. All of us will have, in a way or another, a digital assistant with us, but we'll just augment your capabilities, improve your capabilities, because I think that's the way we'll work in the near future. Probably in the future, farther future, I don't know what's the word, will be different, but from next 15 years will be like that.
I'm hoping it does improve me.
No, I think it will help you to, I like this comparison. There are people who have a lot of ideas. They are very intelligent, but they lack the ability to express themselves. This is a scenario that can be very helpful for them. They will be better because they will be able to express their ideas, which can be very good.
Oh, I like that.
This is what I'm thinking about. For example, I'm trying to write. I have a blog. I don't have very good writing skills, but if I'm using the chatbot, the GPT, I am better. But still, there are still my ideas. Just I have an assistant to make my text, better. It's like when you are writing a book, you are going with the book in the publisher, and they will fix your book to sound better. It's almost the same thing, in fact.
Oh, I like that. So then what's next, Laurentiu, for you, for Gelu, the digital assistant, and for Servier Pharma?
The next big step is to achieve to make the integration with GPT, to have a chatbot, a conversational AI that can answer to most of the questions. I'm trying to be realistic. And then the next dream of mine is to give to the Gelu a voice. That's the big step, because part of majority of our staff are working from the car. They're traveling a lot. So it will be even much more closer to them to use the phone to call the Gelu in order to achieve their tasks using the conversational AI. So that's the next big steps that we want to do. And of course, this is something that we know what we want to do, but we have many other probably projects that will appear around the Gelu, because everything is popping up, you never know when, and just popping out, and you say, now that's a good idea to use it. For example, last 2 weeks, we just implement to the conversational AI a method to to rent a parking lot from our office. You just have to say to Gelu, I want to reserve me a parking lot. And he said, okay, it's done. You have this slot, that time, and that's fine. It's you can improve the knowledge and the know-how of the conversational AI very easily.
Oh, that's fascinating, because I don't know if people think like that, Laurentiu. What I've heard today, and you say it as if it's the most natural thing in the world, but the things we've heard today are not. Being an absolute integral part of the business, not having one foot in and one foot out, understanding the business intimately, and then giving them the technology through conversational AI to answer questions they don't even know they have, to do amazing things like booking a rental space using the most natural thing possible, which is people's voice, while giving Gelu a personality, is not something you hear every day. And all of this, as you described, is within the same budget that you had 10 years ago. And I love the way you gave the analogy that you get your salary, and within inside of your salary, you innovate and you spend it in different ways, but you're still getting the same amount. What you're doing in IT and Servier Pharma is amazing. Whilst you're not going to say it, I admire what you do, and I hope everybody else who's listened into this podcast today gets inspired to suddenly invest in people and in great technology that allows them to impact a huge organization in the same way that you and your IT department are currently doing. I wish you every success in it and cannot wait to see what happens next. Thank you so much, Laurentiu, for agreeing to talk to us in Druid Talks today.
Thank you, Kieran. It was a nice conversation. I like to talk about that. Thank you very much.